Good day, everybody. It's me, Tia Torres, with another Wild Instincts. Whew, it has been a hot little minute since I've been here. But you know what? We're kind of on the downhill slope now as far as um, probably about midway through my adventures in Sri Lanka, heading into the home stretch, wrapping things up, and then heading back to the US. But I wanted to take the time today to talk about one of my it was a personal experience I had. It was an awakening um, while I was in Sri Lanka. So let me give you the visual. And I think I've talked about this before, but I want to do it again. Sri Lanka, yes, it's an island off the coast of India. It's surrounded by ocean, obviously. It's an island. It takes 4 hours in driving to get from one side of the island to the other. Part of Sri Lanka that we were in was in a town called Kandy with a K. And although we were in actually the city part as far as where we stayed, where we worked was literally in the jungles. But not the jungle like you might see, I don't know, in Africa maybe? Or South America, well, parts of South America, possibly. But when we would go into the jungle, it was almost like we were surrounded by mountains of jungle. Like we had to hike up into what they called the canopy. Okay. And we would get high enough to where we would look down into these valleys. It was just amazing. Well, on our days off, we'd like to go out and explore, but that came after taking care of the animals. All right. We always have to get up in the morning and take care of the animals first. And then in the afternoons, we could go off and explore. And on this particular day, I don't remember exactly where it was, but I remembered finding this trail. I know I was with a couple of my fellow trainers. I usually went hiking and exploring with Chris and Nicole, but mostly Chris. He helped me with the wolf dogs a lot, and he was also a handler for some of the other animals. But we would just go off and explore, and we were way, way up in the middle of nowhere in the jungle. Now, being that we worked around the animals that we did, I guess we should have been aware that anything can happen out there. This is not like a Universal Studios or a Disneyland resort. There were literally wild animals out there, some that could harm us. Cobras, for one. Okay, there were cobras around. Um, Also, we were told that there were black leopards. I think they called them jaguars there, out in the jungle. So, but you kind of get this sense of, oh, I can handle that. No, we can handle the ones that were domesticated and lived with us. I don't know what we would have done if we had seen one in the wild. But nonetheless, we were way up in the middle of nowhere. And we came across this shack, made from like palms and it was something out of a movie. But it was real. And we kind of, somebody in there? And we heard someone talking. And as we walked by, a man came out. Didn't speak a word of English. We did not speak Sri Lankan or Sinhalese. But he told us, come in. I mean, he waved us in. Like, okay, let's just do this. It was his wood carving shop, or he used it to do handmade wood carvings, and there were just shelves, and there were just everything. It was amazing to walk into. I don't know if he took them places to sell them, because I don't know how many people just randomly walked up into the jungle like we did, but there were all kinds of carvings. Animals, people, deities, of their different religions. It was pretty cool to see. So as we're looking around, and he's explaining to us with his hand movements that he'll sell them. If we want something, he'll sell us one. And it's then that I noticed way up on a top shelf this sculpture that just caught my attention. At a glance, it looked like Buddha. Okay, not the Chinese Buddha. Okay, not the jolly old chubby man, but the Indian Buddha, the one that sits cross-legged, palms up, that kind of thing. And I pointed and I said, I wanted to see it. And when he brought it down, I then realized that there was something different. It was actually a woman. She was sitting cross-legged, again, palms up, and she was naked from the waist up. From the waist down, she was a snake, the body of a snake wrapped around. And then coming back over her head and over the top of her head was the hood of a cobra. I was immediately just obsessed. This is like a cobra lady. I don't know what she is, but you could tell she's a cobra lady. And I told him, I want to buy this. I explained to him, and he's nodding his head. No, 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 no good, no good. Like, what? No good. And I'm like, no, 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 I really want to buy this. So after convincing him that I really wanted to buy this, and I brought out some American dollars, that convinced him to sell her to me. Now, I could carry this sculpture in one hand, but it was so heavy. Just, I don't know what kind of wood it was, but it was very, very heavy. Dark brown wood. Very, very detailed. So I brought her back to our hotel, and I ended up running into or I don't know if it was the same day, the next day, our driver / translator. Like, he spoke really good English, as well as his the language of the island there. And he says, oh yes, that's what she's called, the Cobra lady. I said, well then who is she? He goes, well, she's not really accepted, okay? And he explained that the reason that the sculptor was probably telling me no good, for me to buy, is that she represented female independence, female strength. And at that time, and we're talking the early 90s, the women there, it's not like a strict Muslim country, but still, women had restrictions. A lot of them had to wear certain clothing, don't show your hair, don't ever speak out against your man, especially in public. She was considered taboo. And he says that, he probably just sculpted her and stuck her up there just for the hell of it and never expected some woman to come walking in and saying that she wanted to buy her. So when I was told the story, I was immediately like, this is it. She is my talisman. I loved her. I protected her. She went everywhere with me. If I moved to a different house, I always made sure to set her up on an altar. I just loved the Cobra lady and what she represented, of course. So this would have been in the early 90s. Let's see here. 96 or mid 90s. Okay, 96. Okay, 1996. Fast forward, we moved to Louisiana. Okay, we moved to Louisiana in 2011. So that's 5 years later. Wait, 5 years? Oh no, no, I can't do my math. 96 plus 5 is 2001. Oh no, a lot more years later. Okay. So we moved to Louisiana 2011. And within a few months, the year 2012, we are hit with Hurricane Isaac. Now, where I lived at the time, it's a little town called Maurepas. It's in a swampy environment. And they had no idea what happened. Because that particular area did not really get hit with the hurricane as hard as other areas, but we had mass flooding. And I wrote it out in my trailer, in my mobile home, and I woke up to a lot of water. We were getting flooded out. And I'm putting my dogs and their crates up on my kitchen counters. I'm trying to pack up things as fast as I can because the locals said, you'll be fine. We have never flooded here. Well, it did. Bad. We're talking by the time I got out, some of these houses were up to their roofs. It was like a mini Katrina. So I packed everything up in totes, okay? Everything I owned, as quickly as I could. And I had to stash my stuff anywhere I could, at our warehouse, you name it. I didn't have anywhere to live. So then I got all my dogs. We stayed in a hotel in the French Quarter for a while. Me and the dogs, after Hurricane Isaac, bounced around so many times for years to come. I just could not get settled. And during the course of all that moving, lost the Cobra lady. I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, there's just no way. How is this possible? Like, she was my most prized possession. It was pretty devastating. And I just said, I had visions of her in a plastic tote, floating down the river that I live next to. I said, oh my God, she must have got washed away in the flood. And I looked online. I found a couple of statues that resembled her, but nothing like the one I had, of course, because it was handmade. It was one of a kind. So fast forward, I found my little swamp shack here in Napoleonville, and I'm settled in, and I'm starting to get comfortable, thinking, okay, this is my home. Tia, you can now start hanging pictures on the walls and make it a home. And many of you know, of course, last year, we ended up packing up our original, or not last year, excuse me. Jesus, where am I at? A couple of years ago or so. We're talking like 3 years ago. Wow, my time frame is really off. We started packing up our original warehouse, the one that you saw us film on the TV show. We started packing it up and closing it down because we were relocating. And as we're packing things up, it's a lot like kennel panels and dog crates. On one particular day, and I don't know for the life of me why I did this, I had asked Tanya, I said, hey, can you go do a really good walkthrough to make sure the guys have not forgotten anything? Because they said we were packed up. And she ended up calling me back and saying, oh, there's some boxes and stuff up in the rafters of the warehouse. I'm like, oh, well, are they ours? I mean, there was a lot of junk in that building. She's like, I don't know. And she said, I'm just going to go check anyway. So she goes, I'll have the guys bring down, down from the rafters. And then I get a text. And it was, you better sit down. And there she was. The Cobra lady, wrapped up in a towel, in a tote. I've never screamed so loud in my life. I mean, she didn't have her luscious brown color as much anymore because she had gone through how many years? I lost her for like 10, 11, 12 years. So the humidity had gotten to her. I don't even remember how. I didn't put her up there. I couldn't get up a ladder. I don't even know how she got up there in the rafters of that warehouse. I have no idea. I don't know. But we're reunited again. And she is something that I have kept throughout all these years. That just reminds me of the amazing time I had there in Sri Lanka. The magic that was there. I can't explain that country. And I don't want to get into the ending of everything now, but there was something so amazing about that place. I think I might have said this on many episodes. If I didn't have my kids at the time, I could have meshed and stayed there and lived there without any problem. When in Rome, do as the Romans. That's me. Such a magical country. But so yeah, us girls are back together. Okay, y'all. Well, we're gonna continue on and with some more story time, and you know me, gotta keep it wild, right? The next episode is gonna be one of those stories. All right, y'all. I will talk to you on the next one.